Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2. Alrighty. No one's in here yet. I will wait for someone to go ahead and hop on in. Let's see if someone will join us for this little shindig. See what we can get going here. Oh, hello. All right, cool. Welcome to the stream. My name's Liam Nelson. In case any of you guys did not know that from Jason's wonderful promotion, thank you, Jason, for having me out at your virtual venue. I was looking forward to performing in person with Jason a lot this upcoming month, but unfortunately, Corona happened, and so here we are. So speaking of Corona, as is the only thing the world can think about right now, I've noticed some societal changes ever since everyone started being all quarantined. I've never seen the garbage truck has become the new ice cream truck. Just people of all ages running out their door. Obviously, keeping their distance, but running out to like their doorway just to wave at someone. It's that desire. I've never seen people so excited for the garbage truck. Um, so I mentioned this last time I performed at Charlton's, but I have a disorder called Marfan syndrome. It is a genetic connective tissue disorder, which basically impacts every part about me, makes everything that holds me together more fundamentally weak and elastic. So I have to take extra precautions and live within my physical limits to make sure that I live a long and healthy life. And you can do that with Marfan syndrome as long as you are diagnosed. So If you know someone who looks anything like me, I'm 7 feet tall and very long and gangly and have bad eyesight and scoliosis. Please gently tell them to go see a cardiologist. Don't. The key word there is gently, because people don't tend to take it well when you walk up to every tall person you see and be like, "Hey, you look fucked up. You should see a doctor about that." They don't tend to take that super well. So gently, it's the key. Um, Living with the reason I'm bringing this up is because last month, I guess 2 months ago now, it was February. February, as everyone knows, is Marfan Awareness Month. February, the month that everyone knows, is Marfan Awareness Month. I'm so glad that we got our own month. Wasn't taken, just a month just for us. I get to be the white guy on my Facebook amongst all the Black History Month posts being like, but remember, I ache as well. Don't forget me, you white man aching over here. Give me money too. My 20 years of pain equate to all of your people's pain and suffering throughout history. It's not a good look. Not a good look for a little white boy to be like, but also my issues this month. I feel like the Marfan Foundation, who is the nonprofit that made February Marfan Awareness Month, just wants us to get beat up. They just want us to get bullied. Just toughen us up. Sometimes when living with Marfan syndrome, things can feel unfair, like you were gypped. I felt particularly gypped when 3 months after my 18th birthday, I found out that I could have had a Make-A-Wish. Nobody told me. Fucking nobody. Not one person was like, hey, you can do some cool shit. It's not very nice. They should have a guy whose job it is to tell all the kids who have chronic illnesses, like, hey, you're allowed to have this. So I wouldn't have gotten a full Make-A-Wish because I'm not dying nearly fast enough for one of those. I would have gotten what I like to call a Choose-A-Wish, which is a generic brand of a Make-A-Wish where they basically say you can choose between going to Disney World or meeting any C-list celebrity on our payroll. So if you're a 9-year-old who wants to ride Thunder Mountain with a heart condition or meet Tony Shalhoub, it's your lucky day. Who knew that there were class divides among the Make-A-Wish organization? It causes a real problem for me sometimes because, I help put on a conference for kids with Marfan syndrome, and some of those kids have this thing called neonatal Marfan syndrome, which is a much more severe version of Marfan syndrome, and they tend to, not make it as long. They tend to have harder complications. So they qualify for the real Make-A-Wishes, and they will not stop flexing on the other kids about it. It's ridiculous. I mean, they come rolling in all high and mighty. Well, not high, low and frail, but so confident. And they start bullying the other kids who aren't dying as fast about not dying fast enough. It's Lord of the Flies on its head. I don't know what to do as like a chaperone. Do I step in? Because I'm not used to the thing being, I'm not used to kids being bullied about living too long. That's never something I've had to like diffuse. So you kind of find that sweet spot between not doing anything at all and then, just making sure the kid who's dying is not too upset. It's a difficult game, caring for ill children. There's this one guy named Owen who is my age now. He's 20. He got a Make-A-Wish when he was younger, and he got to help pick for the NBA draft. And they say, Make-A-Wish makes a deal with every kid. They're like, and then we'll give you fucking whatever you want. And here Owen is 9 years later after getting to pick for the NBA draft, still alive. I feel like Make-A-Wish got ripped the fuck off. Am I the only one thinking that? Maybe have a person or two on staff, because you can't be giving that stuff away to everybody. All I'm saying, just asset management. there's so many weird social dynamics at this conference that I helped put on for people with Marfan syndrome, because even though we're a community full of people who are, feel different or, trodden upon everywhere else in society, there still has to be conflict. There still has to be, bullying. There still has to be all this craziness within this small community of disabled people. Something I've realized recently is there's this one lady who I grew up. I've been going to conferences for a few years now, and she's been going, for years before I did. She and her husband had Marfan syndrome, and she did not. Would come to conference every year. He was, a big member of the community, and then he brought her in, and then she became kind of the favorite out of the couple. And then they got divorced, and then she got Marfan syndrome in the divorce. Like he doesn't go to conference anymore. She got that in the divorce. How bad of a lawyer do you have to lose your own genetic condition in a divorce? Like, also, this woman, what? Like, how do you justify to yourself, like, yes, I'm friends with the people there, and that's more important than the fact that he has the disorder? It's insane to me. All right, let's talk about a little something else. I'm trying to do all new stuff to keep it fresh, keep myself writing new stuff. I grew up, I feel like everyone has that one thing that they did as a kid or watched on TV or listened to on the radio or whatever that they're not sure was actually real. That was just this, like, it was so weird that it couldn't be real. I stumbled upon a CD recently that was my version of this. I didn't think this CD existed because I tried to find it online and I couldn't. But then I found it in the bottom drawer of my dresser. Walkin' Jim Stoltz, his album. I forget. I think the album's called The Web of Life. So check it out. It is a folk singer, an older folk singer who travels the country singing about different animals. But the songs that he sings are the most guttural kid songs I've ever had. So it's like 70% him making weird animal noises, 30% some catchy ass tunes. I feel like that definitely shaped me as a person, and I feel like the reason people aren't interesting or are interesting is based on those little things that slip into their lives. I talked to my dad about it, and I think he ended up getting me that CD at some like walk around fair. So there's always those little things that you just pick up. You don't realize they're going to be as impactful as they are, and they just slip into your subconscious. So now I am destined to be a mountain man who makes goat and buffalo sounds. So catch me on your nearest mountain. Something I talked about last time that I've been, still thinking about because I've wanted to go through and see how many of these songs this guy's on. The baritone recap guy on all old music. I don't. Who is he? Who is this man? It sounds like the same guy on every song. Every Andrew Sisters era song. Where they do the whole song, and then at the end, the last 20 seconds is just some guy with a deep voice being like, "Oh yes, that was quite an adventure we went on. Let me just restate the chorus again." Like, did he have a contract with the record company that he had to do so many songs, and they just hated him so much that they were just like, put him on the? Or was it like a gender thing where they're like, "Oh, these fucking women can't get the point across. Let's send in the man at the end to make sure that they understand. Gotta make sure those dames can't get something across with 4 choruses. We gotta send in the big guns, the fucking guy." Oh yeah. So I've recently been worried about starting to lose my hair. I have very long hair, but I'm just very paranoid because I feel like my hairline has been receding a little bit. And I was talking about this with my girlfriend, and she and I both were like, well, she was talking about previously how everyone's been shaving their head, and I was like, well, I mean, fuck it, if I'm losing my hair, I might as well. And she, she's like, oh, well, maybe we could do it together. And then we both sat there for a moment, and we looked at each other, and we're like, no, No, we gotta keep a couple months between that. Because if one white person shaves their head, then it's like a fun, quirky thing to do during a pandemic. If multiple white people start shaving their heads, it's a movement and not a movement that I want to be associated with. Um, I'm not trying to look like any sort of white power faction. That's all I'm saying. Um, oh yeah, so I do come from a white family. If you could not tell by all of this, um, I live in the South, so there's definitely some racism down the line, which is why my very liberal parents feel the need to overcompensate for that sometimes. Usually, my mom more so. My mom is the type of person who speaks in a Spanish accent to her Chihuahua because that's the most ethnic person in her life. Uh, and my dad is someone who, he's a photo dad. I don't know if you've ever met one of these. They take pictures of everything and then they feel the need to share them with everyone in your entire family. So he'll start these massive group chats with every family member I've ever known. It's like having a spontaneous family reunion in your pocket. It's terrifying. Every response to every photo is the message equivalent of like pinching your cheeks and being like, "Oh, I haven't seen you since you were a baby. Do you remember me? Even though I just said I haven't seen you since you were a baby." It's very chaotic, and I can't block them. So now I'm just a part of the family at random times. All right. Oh yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, my mom is interesting when it comes to race. I have a younger sister. She's adopted from China, and my mom feels the need to point out every other Asian person in public to her. But the thing is, she's 14, so she knows what Asian people are by now, I hope. Don't really know what she was expecting from that conversation. Like, she's like, I just want to let her know that her people are everywhere and her support system is strong. But instead, it just comes off as like, look, you. Um, yeah, growing up with a 14-year-old Asian sister, a younger Asian sister, when you are a 7 foot tall white boy, is always very interesting because there's always that one moment when you meet a new person, you're like, oh, hi, I'm Liam, this is my sister Lily, where they do the math in their head. Like, they're like, which one of you is imported? Are you from China or are you from north of the wall that protects our lands from the White Walkers? Like, what's happening here? And I just love to imagine the scenario where a small Asian family adopted me. Like, oh, it's a classic Clifford the Big Red Dog scenario. They bring home a little bundle of joy, and then all of a sudden, within a couple of years, they have a monster eating them out of house and home. Why do more people not talk about the fact that Clifford probably murdered so many people just by accidentally stepping on them? Because I know I have. Yeah, so let's see. What else we got to talk about? Yeah, so my mom is also very spiritual. She, is the type of person who, if someone broke into our house, she would assume it was a ghost. Uh, but as a kid, we both had very vivid me and my mom both had very vivid nightmares when I was a child. Mine were usually about anxiety, something, like walking into school naked or something, anxiety based. And hers took the form of this large black, 6 foot black figure looming over her. And that figure would say, "Mom, I had a bad dream." And then she'd scream, and it would scream, and it would run away. If you couldn't tell by now, that was me. I was too large to be needing help with nightmares, but also I needed help with nightmares. So I just eventually trained myself not to have them anymore because the experience of trying to go get my mom was more terrifying. So much more terrifying. Being screamed at like you're a monster is not great for being already frightened. Um, yeah, so okay, so I feel like I'm over the hill. I feel like I'm already an elderly man. Aside from like the chronic back pain and everything that already comes with the Marfan syndrome, I did something recently that I feel like is very indicative of, where I'm at in life. I started putting my Lactaid in the same area of my wallet where I used to put my condoms. Same kind of circular shape. It's not that I'm not getting any. I'm just in a long-term relationship, and I'm not a dumbass, so I know how to just have them available. So it's now when a friend would ask me for a condom, and I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, I don't have any." And if they see my wallet, they see that circle, and they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, you do." No, I don't. It's yeah, but that one's broken. Trying to hide the fact that I am an elderly man. Not getting any all around town, but you know what I'm not getting is indigestion from dairy. So, boom, almost fell over. Let's see what else we gonna talk about today. Despite everything about me, I am easily frightened. I know that's hard to believe. I'm a large white man. The world is built for me. I should be comfortable in it. If I'm not, then who is? But I'm not. I'm very scared. I've gotten better about it recently. I used to lock my car door every time I saw someone within like any sort of radius of my car. Now I only lock my car door when I lock eyes with a sweaty man with a button up halfway undone with a tie around his neck, because that man is going to pursue my car thinking it's his Uber with the same fervor that soldiers did with the last chopper out of Saigon. Like he's not gonna let me tell him that I'm not his Uber. He's gonna get in my fucking car and I'm gonna take him home. It doesn't even have to be his home. It just has to be anyone's home. He wants to not be there anymore so bad that he is willing to just risk everything. That is some white man confidence, and that terrifies me. Because I probably couldn't remove him from my car if I tried. I would just have to ask him his address and drive him home. That's just what you're doing now. That's just the rest of your day. It's like, all right, well, I have been bested, so I have to take him home. Even though this is not a Kia Sorento, this is a Ford Flex. Doesn't look anything like it, but that's fine. Nope, I'm your Uber now, I guess. I think it's so funny that serial killers used to always target like young women, because come on, get middle-aged men so much easier. You cannot stop getting them to get in my car. I know serial killers, it's not their, even if that's not their main thing, it's so much more accessible. It's like the generic brand of victim, you can just get like a ton of it and just do a ton of it, and then it might help satisfy you, but it's just way easier. No one's looking for Jeremy. All right, let's do one more. So when I was younger, I'm 7 feet tall now, and I was 6 feet tall by the time I was 10 years old, which is terrifying, right? Mainly for me. So much limbs, so little self-control. I did play basketball until I was about 10 years old, and when I was 10 years old, I was 6 feet tall, so I was more of a psychological weapon than a player. They'd send me out of the top of every game and scare the shit out of my opponent and his very supportive grandparents, and then they'd sit my happy ass right back on that bench for the rest of the game. One day, I was going out at the top of the game, and I walk out to the middle, and all I hear from the crowd is, no, sir! It was the other team's coach. He had some feelings about me playing basketball. He walks over to the referee, and all I hear from that conversation is, send him back. Well, apparently, my man Alex Jones over here had a conspiracy theory that I was a test tube baby from Russia, sent over to be a ringer of sorts for a local Christian 10-year-olds basketball league. Because fuck the elections, we're focusing on what's important. Gotta lock down that major competition. So I that's a pretty ridiculous thing to claim, and I was laughing about it with my teammates. But then a couple weeks later, we get a petition in the mail that apparently a bunch of coaches signed, saying that there was reasonable doubt that I was actually 10. Didn't really realize I was on trial here, but all right. and that I was being asked to leave, which is Christian basketball, for get the fuck out, you freak. So that's where my basketball career ended. I was too tall to play basketball, I guess. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining me again in my little studio. Thank you, Jason, for having me. It was a lot of fun, and hope to see you guys again soon.